right, there we go. We're on another episode of Salient Points, number 86. This one's for October 18, 2022. I am Carlos Macias. I will not have a nickname, unfortunately, because Dalen is going to be absent. He might be absent for more than one episode. So, Dalen, your hit rate is definitely taking a hit. It's going to be low, but we'll have him. We'll have him on sometimes as a special guest. So, but we're still chugging along here. I'm Carlos Macias, your host of this here fine program. We also got Deo Blas over there with his Dexter background. Thank you for joining us, sir.
Thank you, guys.
What's happening?
Good to see you again, obviously.
I mean, we don't want to dox you or nothing, but give us a little, if you can, if you want, give us a little background.
I'm still in the process of moving, and
Okay.
and everything is very fluid, and I can't find my tools, so I had to go out to. I literally before 30 minutes ago, I went out to Ace Hardware to go buy some drill bits because I can't find them anywhere, and I can't. Yeah, we can't mount anything or put up stuff without drills. So I was like, damn it. I'll just go buy it.
You're really dealing with something, but look, you're the king of Mid Bay, so I hope at some point it's gonna be all figured out. I like the fluffy situation you got going on there to your stage left, if that's the word. I'm not sure if that's the word, but you're doing all right. You're doing all right. Thank you for being here, Deo. Luis Mendez on the Wheels of Steel yet again, sir. Thank you for joining us.
2 weeks later, and since we have no Dalen here,
right.
our sponsor for the week is Truly.
It's blurry. Your little background thing blurs it up.
It's Truly, dude.
Hey, did we get any questions, by the way? I forgot to kind of look at the.
Yeah. Okay, I'll double check it. Keep going.
We'll start on the first one. Is Jet Jet? He did say on YouTube. He said, "Sounds like Carlos needs to learn what an egg timer is before he can master it." Look. This was a question for Dalen, right? Like if Dalen was here, he'd be able to answer that. But look, Jet, you're right. I need to know what an egg timer is before I can master it. You're correct. You're just correct. Luis, what do you think of this man hitting me up like this? I can't believe it.
I can't believe it. What I think is that Dalen says a lot of things, and we don't know whether or not they're real or not. As a matter of fact, last night we were even asking him about a person, an actual person, whether or not they existed, his coworker. So we just don't know, man. We just don't know.
We're just not aware. Deo, what's up with Jet, man? Hey, thank you for commenting, Jet. Remember, subscribe if you comment. Deo always puts on Twitter, you're 100% guaranteed to get in this. So until we maybe blow up or something, which we'll see. But for now, yes, if you comment or or whatever, we'll get you on.
Don't want to blow up like G4.
You don't go crazy.
That's the opposite way.
Exactly.
But what do you think
don't want to go under.
What's up? What's going on with the egg timer situation? I guess.
Does anyone still use egg timers? Who uses them?
That's the real question.
Use your phone, dude.
Exactly. That's
All
just it has everything. Jet, come on.
Did we get some cues here, Dale, or no?
Unfortunately, we did not.
All
I don't
right.
think.
Hey,
I was very active the last couple of days.
Hey, F and Steve, what's going on here, man? Whatever. Maybe
dropping the ball.
Hey, we already know what he was gonna ask though. What's your favorite toilet to go sit on? So thank you, Steve. We welcome your questions. Let's.
We hope you have a good commode out there, Steve.
There you go, man. We'll jump right into it. There's a bunch of stuff. There's a bunch of little juicy things going on. The biggest thing, or one of the biggest things, I think, is this whole Bayonetta 3 voice actor drama. There's the original actress who did the voices of Bayonetta, which I've been playing through Bayonetta 1, so I'm kind of trying to ramp up to 3 here. And she's got a very English voice, very distinctive kind of voice, so it'll be interesting to play as a different Bayonetta character. She's gonna be voiced by Jennifer Hale. One of the main things that Elena Taylor, I'll give you the Spanish flavor on that. She was saying that she was only getting paid $4,000 for her work for the Bayonetta 3, and she had to re-audition for a role that she already had, I thought. And she was saying that she was telling people on Twitter to boycott the game and instead kind of donate that money to charity. And of course, the Bayonetta 3 director, Hideki Kamiya from Platinum Games, he came out and said, sad and deplorable about the attitude of untruth. That's all I can tell now. By the way, beware of my rules. And of course, he's Japanese, right? So his English is maybe a little off, right? But he's basically saying I think one of his rules was if you don't talk to me in Japanese, I'm gonna block you. And he did. He blocked a whole bunch of people, and now his Twitter doesn't exist anymore. So that's kind of deleted. Okay, Dale, just disappear.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Irish goodbye.
Okay,
IrishGoodbye.com.
Dale, are you back now? Okay, Dale, just disappear on us. So we were just talking about the comedian. I don't know.
Hold on. Get another clap in here.
Oh, okay, we got a little.
Sorry,
It's
sorry.
gonna stay in. 3, 2, 1. It's gonna stay in, Luis. It might be a little off.
Perfect.
But we were just talking about the Camilla quote. I don't know if you heard that, Dale. But yes, he blocked a bunch of people, and then at some point his Twitter is gone. Right? His rules were like, oh, if you don't speak Japanese, don't. I think that's what it is. Don't talk to me
Don't
unless
at
you're
me.
talking. Do not at me if it's not in Japanese. Of course, Jennifer Hale, from the person who is going to be Bayonetta 3, who's kind of a bigger actress. She kind of didn't really say much. She did put out a statement. It's kind of a long statement, so I won't read it unless you guys want to pull something from it. But she basically kind of said, love and respect to all. I hope this is resolved amicably. She didn't really say too much, right? She just says she kind of respects her coworkers and, but that's about it. She didn't say, let me give her a cut or anything like that, right? But Dale, let's start with you, man. Whatever you want to start with, Camilla, the original actress, or the current actress, wherever you want to.
It's a lot to unpack. I just can't believe that this is still a thing with voice actors in general. That they are very underpaid, and it's not just like video game like voice actors. It's like anime voice actors too. Like it's not guaranteed that once you were a character from before that you're able to reprise your role, and it's not guaranteed you're gonna get like a solid base pay for what they do.
And they have like a union too, right? So you would think like sometimes, like I think unions can be good and they can be, not so good in other cases as well. And it depends on the industry, I feel. Yeah, they have a union, and it's also like for her. So they basically told her is $4,000, no royalties. Is just this is it. We're buying out whatever you think. This is what we think your work is worth, right? And I think she even pointed out in one of the tweets that's like, oh, this franchise has generated like $450 million, and they said, here you go. Here's a paltry 4K.
But not only that, but like her voice, her likeliness of and the ties she has to Bayonetta is forever now. It's like, digitally reproduced for as long as like they don't remaster it or like get her out of or like re-record her voice lines or whatever, right? So it's just it's insane to me that they would like kind of disrespect her so much. And that goes for a lot. Like they do have a union, these voice actors, but like it's not as strong as like the normal actors guild that's in LA or in like San Francisco or New York or whatever. So it's a problem. Mainly because you stick with a lot of these characters for so long, and like they get jack shit with these actors for their actual roles.
And you kind of follow some of these voice actors, right? Like as far as Jennifer Hale, she's a bigger kind of.
She's a much bigger
right?
one.
What are her big roles? Can you think of any? I guess
I can't even think of it off the
But
top of my
she's
head.
obviously not getting the minimum, and they didn't pay her just $4,000 either, right?
Right. That's the thing. It's just like, so if it costs $4,000 for Elena to reprise her role, like you're obviously paying more to have Jennifer Hale do it because she's a much bigger voice actress or much more in demand anyway.
Yeah.
So, or more recognizable one. So maybe they wanted to switch to her from the beginning and the get-go, but like Hideki Kamiya, he's just like, I understand that his English isn't the greatest.
Well, and he's speaking English from Japanese or whatever, right?
Right. But as a director, like I'm sure he wanted some sort of direction for this thing to go, but maybe he was feeling like other pressure from either corporate or maybe even Nintendo because they wanted to get this project done and out of the gate because it's been in limbo for so long.
Yeah.
And so like, but his reaction is just like, it is not a good look optic wise.
Yeah, and I do like this. There was someone on Twitter that said also was like, I just read it really quickly, but they were talking about how it's like, look, if you guys were hoping for this thing to flop, just go look at the sales for 1 and 2, and it's gonna flop regardless. So don't even like try to boycott. It's gonna be fine. It's gonna happen. Anything else, real quick, before we kind of get to Luis's thought on it? Go ahead.
The weird wrinkle about this whole thing is that someone went back through like Helena's like Twitter likes and all her retweets and stuff, and she's very conservative. Okay. So it like people are trying to use that against her as like a defense for some reason.
You can't fault her for that, and that's a whole separate thing, right? This is you're paying me peanuts for work. that is gonna be
Right.
reproduced, and 10 years from now you'll do a 10-year anniversary like they did with Vanquish and Bayonetta
Yeah.
1, which is the version I'm playing.
I'm
And
still
it's
having
just
my
working.
my pre-order is still on like I still want to support all the hardworking artists and like the programmers and all that other
Yeah.
stuff. It just sucks that it can't be a whole complete support package for everyone
Yeah, so
who helped make
we'll
the
be
game.
playing it soon enough, right? And I do have some thoughts on it. Like I said, I'll talk about that in what you've been playing. Luis, what do you think about this, man? Kind of like
Hmm.
what are your thoughts about
Yeah,
this?
there's not much more I could really add to it that you guys didn't already say. Just reiterating, it's a shitty situation. It kind of sucks, right? But that that did give, as you guys saw, give me a little chuckle when you're talking about people hoping this game would flop. But I guess this isn't the first time that we've seen sort of something like this happen. We did see it with the Mandalorian, right? With I never saw the series,
Oh,
but one of the actors that got sort of
Mhm.
kicked off of the show because of her political stances and all that. So
yeah.
I don't know if maybe it's not to say that it's okay to just like undercut and basically remove someone from a project that they've already been a part of, but that could have been maybe his decision as a director to like, oh, maybe I don't like her viewpoints.
Do you
Let's see if
think
we could figure
is
out a
that
way
kind of
to
what you were
like.
going for, Dale? Kind of that because of her
Possibly.
political views, maybe they were trying to push her out. That's be kind of
Yeah,
yeah.
well, we don't know the whole story, so but that could be part of it.
Okay.
Um,
All right, Luis. What else, man? Sorry, I didn't mean to like cut you off
No,
there.
no, that was it.
Yeah.
That's
All
it.
right. Well, it's still unfolding, man. Before we kind of click record here, there's still kind of little things coming out. The kind of sort of apology I'm in support of her from Jennifer Hale came out like I think earlier Monday. So it's still kind of juicy, and I think there's gonna be they're probably trying to keep it under control too, right? Because it's like we still want this thing to sell. We don't want whatever 10,000 copies it was gonna sell. We want it to still strike that 10,000 copies, right? But we're excited. It's a good series, man. Like we'll talk in what you've been playing, right? But I like it. I like it. Just a little preview there. The next thing on here, of course, is G4 TV is shutting down completely about a year after launch. Again, because they had shut down previously. But there's like interesting little details. Some of the stuff maybe you guys can kind of help me out a little bit more with it. But there was some interesting things that like they were talking about how they paid some of the content creators like a daily rate of $25,000 to $30,000, which is kind of incredible. But I know some of these people are making bank. They really are. We're gonna talk about Amaranth as well in a little bit. But they're making a lot of money. So I kind of doesn't sound that ridiculous to be like, okay, you guys want me to show up on G4 TV? 25K. This is my daily rate. And of course, that's one of the things that wasn't sustainable. Apart from the fact that it was like they hired 200 people, man. That's a lot. Even like say they got paid 50K, whatever. That's like 10 million, $15 million just every month, right? Just going out to salaries, right? And they just couldn't kind of tap into what Twitch is and what YouTube is, and it's a hard thing, right? But I think they kind of went about it in a wacky way. But yeah, so there's a lot going on with it. I know at first, and I think we might have talked about it last week or a couple weeks ago, that they fired a bunch of people, but now it's like a week or two later, and it's like, nope, this thing is getting shuttered now. Luis, we'll go with you first, man. What are your thoughts, or maybe you can add a little more, a little more flavor or more details to what's going
Yeah,
on with
I
it.
don't have much insider information on this, but yeah, from the outside looking in, it did look like from the jump they didn't even realize what direction they really wanted to go in. They just kind of, it was like a three-pronged approach. They're like, okay, we're going on TV, some stuff's going to be on Twitch, some stuff's on YouTube. And it was, for me as someone that actually wanted to like give it a chance and watch it, it was really hard keeping up with where I should watch G4 TV stuff because I
Yeah.
just didn't know at any time really. And then when it was on, it was something that I'm like, okay, they're like talking about Rocket League in this one. I guess maybe like I don't know if I really want to stick around for this. So it was just hard to like figure out when I should tune in. So it doesn't really surprise
There
me
was
that
no
this
like real
kind of happened.
schedule, or there was no like go here, click here, we're live now. I think they sort of did that sometimes, like
They
go
must
live
have
now.
had something
Yeah,
somewhere, but
yeah.
that's the point though. As someone that actually
Where
wanted to
is it?
keep up
Yeah,
with it, I just didn't
yeah,
know, right? So
yeah.
yeah, it sucks that it seemed like maybe they were putting money in the wrong places, like just getting these big names to come on in and try to get people to tune in. But if nobody knows when they're on,
Yeah.
then what's the point?
And I know
So
the more I looked into it, I kind of there was a lot of people referencing in back in January. I guess there was a esports streamer, and she kind of went off on a rant as well about how like toxic the comments are and how toxic like the men are, and she was kind of saying like, oh well, you know, I'm sorry. I don't know if she said I'm sorry, but she was basically kind of like, oh, I'm not as attractive as Morgan Webb or whoever the other people that have been there before. People were saying like,
no
oh,
one is.
That's the okay. There you go, Dave. And I think that a lot of people were pointing to that was like the death knell, right? Like that was like this is what happened. She went off on a rant, which I think it's fair, but maybe she kind of was like, I think it caught a lot of people off guard, right? I'm not gonna comment on whether she was right or incorrect or whatever, right? She was just, that was her opinion, and it's fair. But a lot of people were pointing to that. Do you feel like that's what it was, Deo, or you know, anything else you want to kind of comment here on the death?
Yeah, it's sad. I think I'm sad because like we have such fond nostalgia for G4, especially a lot of us that follow gaming and gaming journalism. But like just the way the model, like you said earlier, is just it was so unsustainable. For number one, you started like right out of COVID times. They should have stayed in like COVID times. Like honestly, they should have been working remotely. The only and Luis was right too. Like I couldn't even watch a full episode of something because I didn't know when it was coming on. So if I did happen to catch it, it was like the tail end or like the beginning, and I couldn't really plan for it.
Yeah.
It wasn't really a lot of regularity, especially with what type of shows you wanted or what we got. And I get that it's a variety show, but like so for gaming anyway. But like I don't know, the most consistent thing that I always watched was Adam Sessler's Cesspool, which was always posted on YouTube or on his socials, so it was easy just to click on there and do that. I thought they were going to do that the whole time, where everyone could have been working like remotely from their home offices, or you know, maybe do a little remote.
I think he was. I don't think he ever like moved down to LA. I think he was up in San Francisco or wherever he lived.
I think so.
He stayed up there. He was like, I'm gonna be up here and comment from up here. You know. So.
And like you have the resources to have all this stuff done remotely. They got like a full-on building, and you know, in LA, and that's expensive. Rent is expensive.
Yeah, from what I understand, it was like a $30 million building or something like that. That maybe Comcast owned, right, or something, or it was part of the deal, right? And they're like, let's do something with this expensive space, right?
And that all eats into like on top of that, the rent and the labor, and all of that eats into their bottom line, and that was just going to be crazy unsustainable after a while, considering what they're trying to do. I think they were too unfocused. They wanted to do too many things. They should have just kept focusing on like game reviews, game previews. That's all they really should have been doing, because that's what they were famous for, and that's what they like their strength was back in the day.
But it was their strength at a time when, if you guys remember, like I think I remember first kind of watching this, I think in 2004 or 05, or kind of when they started out. You know, I was still in high school, so and I don't think I had broadband or you know DSL. I don't think I had it until later, years later. So I remember going to like an IGN or something and clicking, and I would wait for the little thing to go. So here you have a channel on cable that is like, I don't have to wait. I just have to press play, and it's going to show me reviews and all this stuff. And I think at some point YouTube took over, right? YouTube said, okay, well, here we go. Here we go. You could just click whenever you want. And then the speeds of the internet got faster, right? It's on your phone now. So I think it's one of those things where it's like, it's fine that people had nostalgia for it, but they might have not done it correctly, right? They could have started maybe small, like you were mentioning. It's like, why aren't these people remote? We're doing the X Play show, kind of have a semi-studio in everyone's home, and start off with like 10 people, not 200 people, right? Like,
right.
It's like,
there's a lot of people.
And what are we gonna do with all these people?
It sucks because a lot of them were really talented. Like they had a really good talent pool in the writers and a lot of the staff members, and even the hosts. Like what's his name? Shoot, I can't remember his name, but he was like one of the first Xbox adopters back in the day for 2004. And he's on there, and I was just like, and he just got married. He moved out to the West Coast for this thing. Like he brought his whole family over. Yeah. And then now we got, you know, the whole thing got canned. So I'm just like, damn, that sucks, because he was a really good host. I can't remember his name.
You're not talking about
Daniel Pena?
Oh, okay, Danny Pena. I know this guy. I've met him a few times. Yeah, actually. So I do Danny Pena from Gamertag Radio.
Yes, there you go.
And one of our favorites as well. He's Paris Lily is also on that podcast as well.
Right.
I don't know if we've mentioned it on Wax, but me and him have a little story. But maybe we'll bring it up at some other time. But yeah, those guys are great. And I don't follow them that much, but they seem like great guys. And yeah, it's unfortunate. And I think he might have just gotten married too or something, right? I don't know the whole story, but yeah, it is unfortunate because these are good guys, right? These are good guys that you hope the best for. And it's just like, from what I understand, it was like an executive son. It was like, I love G4, like it was someone's son, right? It's like, yeah, let's do it, and they're like kind of gave him a blank check,
all,
and then here we are.
Let's do it.
Hey, let's Henry it up. Let's Henry it up, and let's get this done. Luis, before anything else, before we move on from G4 TV's death here.
No, that's it. It's unfortunate.
All right, we'll move on to the next thing here. And like I mentioned a little bit earlier, we're talking about streamers this time. But Amaranth, who you guys probably know, she's kind of a nice looking character on the streams, right? She kind of revealed that she is married, and she had. If you guys look at the videos, you can kind of look them up. They're kind of rough watches, man. They're not long. She just kind of put some clips up on her Twitter, but it's basically kind of her husband berating her and yelling at her. It's like, you don't know the plan. It's kind of a an ugly kind of dispute that maybe you've seen on a street or something like that, right? But it's through the phone, and she kind of has it like live streaming. And she also kind of read out some of the texts that she sends her. And I know people on the comments were kind of like, oh, it's put on, it's for show. I don't necessarily care to say whether it's for show or not, but it's something that's really weird, right? Like that it's kind of like she was saying, like he knows what the idea is of a kind of a pretty female streamer, and it's kind of like the idea that she's single, right? So she hadn't said that she was married, right? And it's the idea that, oh, I can get her if I only donate enough, right? And the fact that it's like so put out so plainly, right? That he and she also mentioned was that, oh, it's part of the business strategy, it's part of the business plan that people think you're single, and then it turns out that it's kind of like a controlling sort of abusive relationship, right? And even on some of the texts, like she mentions, like, I'm gonna put 250K towards this, 500K, like they're talking big numbers in these texts or whatever, right? So but we'll go with Luis, actually, because I don't follow it that much. From what I understand, Deo, you don't follow her or kind of her content as much, but Luis, what's kind of your understanding, I suppose, of kind of what's been going on?
Yeah, I don't follow Amaranth specifically, but I do like watch streamers that are sort of within her social circle. So I've seen her on other people's streams and things like that. But yeah, this whole situation did come out of nowhere, but it seemed like it's been going on for a very, very, very long time. And yeah, he's just straight up like threatening her with, I'm gonna take all the money out of the bank account, I'm gonna kill your dogs, I'm gonna do this, you need to stream, you need to do that. And the decision for them to not come out with publicly with their marriage was his decision. She said like she didn't care, she wanted to say it, but yeah, he kept talking about how it was going to ruin her public image, and it was part of the business model, and people would stop sort of donating and this and that. So the thing that sucks additionally on top of all this, someone that's being from abuse, right? But then there's people like Keemstar coming out and saying like, oh, there was people, sort of lauding her with like she's a really good businesswoman and this and that, but all the time it was her husband behind the scenes, like controlling everything. It's like,
so
okay, dude, that's not what this is
right?
about.
That's
like,
the
don't.
narrative, right? And all that,
Yeah. So it's like, dude, what the fuck are you even talking about, right?
Yeah.
But
man.
so all those at the end of all that stream and all those clips, you do see she's talking with her assistant, I believe, and she asked her if she's taken her meds, and then right after she says that, you see the door behind her sort of start opening, and then the stream cuts off. So everyone was like, wait a minute, what just happened? Like, that's something straight out of a movie. What just happened?
Yeah.
So the cool thing about that was that you saw sort of the Twitch community and people like that on Twitter sort of signal boosting it and trying to figure out who can check up on her and this and that, and who can call the cops if anyone knows where she lives, do a wellness check. So long story short, people found out that as of today, she's okay, like she's fine. Yeah. So the police went over and they're trying to sort of figure out what the situation is, but that's kind of the latest update on this whole thing.
And it's easy to kind of be like, oh, it's put on and all this stuff, and honestly, it could be, it couldn't be, but it's really like, to me, it's like, this is what I see, and it seems like it's a serious kind of situation, right?
Yeah.
Whether we find out later it's put on or not, whatever, right? But for now, it's like kind of like a serious thing, right? That people are taking serious, and of course the internet is the internet, so they got plenty of theories in this. Like kind of you mentioned, like it was the man that was controlling all this behind the scenes. That's what he was making a decision. So, Deo, what are your thoughts on this, man?
Yeah, I just feel so bad. Like I don't follow her. I don't do like I don't go and know about her streams or anything. I know what she looks like because of her persona, but like at the same time, it's sad, and it sucks that people are in these kinds of abusive relationships and they can't get out of them. She's, being berated all the time by this guy probably, and this is like the little bit that we know of. Like it
Yeah.
could be worse.
Hmm.
And yeah, it just I feel so bad for people that are in this type of relationship.
Well, and I think
I
people try to diminish it too, right? Like it's an easy thing where it's like just leave, just do this, and in some
No, it's
cases,
not that
and
easy.
some cases
No,
it could be, but I think in a lot of cases it's part of the trauma, part of the manipulation,
it
right?
is.
And all that.
Right, right.
It's a game.
Like a lot of people that never have been in that situation like to judge and say it's so easy, but I was like, no, it's not. Come on, don't.
Yeah.
If it was, then we wouldn't have this like problem all the time in America.
Hmm.
And I don't know, it's brutal. Like I listened to like a 10-second clip of that first video she posted up, and I was just like already, I so
It was
disgusted.
rough. It's rough
It
to
was
listen to, right? And it's
yeah,
short.
and it was super real. It was
Yeah.
short, super real. I was like, damn, man, like I did not know this was going on. I was super busy that day. That it was a Saturday that was broke down, and I was like, dude, I don't know, like I don't know if it was real. It felt
Yeah.
super real watching it, but it was super surreal that it just dropped out of nowhere because so many people love her as a persona,
Mhm.
and to hear this kind of news that like one of their most beloved like Twitch stars is
And
in
and
trouble.
it kind of
it-
paints because she's had other little moments, right, where she's like, oh, I'm moving from Twitch. I'm gonna, I don't know, different little
Yeah.
things where she's popped up. So now you're thinking like, damn, there's like a
Yeah,
little puppet
right.
master in the background, like do this, do that, and you have
do
to
this, do that. Yeah, and then those people that think like she owes or they owe her, like she owes them something, like they go and talk all this shit, and just like Keemstar does, saying like, oh yeah, she's a woman that's meant to be objectified, so that's what she gets, blah blah
Yeah.
blah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, fucking
Mhm.
people, man. The way that they think of like that is just terrible. It's like terrible, terrible society.
Look, it's it's a rough situation. I'm sure this is also kind of unfolding too, man. So there's been a bunch of stuff happening. But yeah,
Yeah.
look, well, to me, it's not. I don't think it's my job or kind of anybody's job. Like it's true or not true. It's like if it, let's just we can assume it's real, and if it's real, then I hope everything's good, right? And that can kind of be sorted out, right?
Yeah.
So, all right, we'll move on to the next thing here. Silent Hill, an update is coming October 19th, which is tomorrow by the time that this kind of goes up. There's not much. They just kind of put a tweet out saying the transmission is going around. I have played a couple of the games. They're a little spooky. They're pretty damn spooky, specifically the controls.
Yeah.
But I'm down. We haven't seen a Silent Hill in quite a bit of time. I hope they take cues from Resident Evil, how good Resident Evil has been lately. Not only with the remakes, how smooth and how beautiful those look, but also with like the main line, if you want to consider that, right? 7 and 8 have been kind of incredible. So I hope they take some notes. But Luis, what do you think, man? You hyped for a new Silent Hill?
I mean that if they did take those notes, it would make it closer to what PT was, which is what people want and have been wanting for so many years. I, for one, still have that downloaded on a hard drive somewhere, so I could plug it into my PS4 and play it whenever I want. But yeah, I mean that's kind of I think what is it kind of in the back, at least in the back of my mind. Hopefully, it's something like that because they saw how well received just that little playable teaser was.
Yeah.
So, but we'll have to wait and see what they do with
Yeah.
that.
Dale, what do you think, man? What are we gonna see
I-
tomorrow?
I'm excited,
You're
but
right.
but also wary because like if they try to experiment the way that Resident Evil can, I don't think Silent Hill will be as successful. Mainly because there aren't as many diehard fans of Silent Hill compared to Resident Evil. Resident Evil could go do all its crazy experiments at all given time, and they'll still keep selling you Resident Evil. It doesn't
Yeah.
really matter.
Yeah.
And then
You
they
know?
will remake that experiment.
And they'll remake
you
it
will
once
buy
they get it right. They'll remake it all nth amount of times. So Silent Hill is like a little bit susceptible to something like that. But like Louis said, it's like you know the formula. You should get it right with PT
Yeah.
if it's that type of deal. And that's what everyone's looking for. I don't think there's anything in that space, in the horror space right now, that touches on like that weird psychological stuff as much as
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe the
'cause-
medium. I don't
Yeah,
know, but
yeah,
I haven't played that yet.
Because Resident Evil is very much like it's spooky, but it's an action game also at the same time, right? And
That's
kinda,
exactly.
that's kind of what I like about it, right? It's like you are kind of limited on ammo and these kind of things, but you're
Mhm.
still gonna make it through. Like you're gonna be okay. Silent Hill, I feel like really fucks with you in that sense. Like, are you gonna make it through? You might not. you might not. So we'll see what they show tomorrow. But I'm glad you guys are hyped. I'm interested. I like these horror games, right? More on the Activision and Microsoft buying them. This thing is just continuing, man. Until like it's getting interesting though. Because some of the stuff that the different governing bodies are kind of talking about, they're kind of like, this kind of makes sense. You guys are kind of creating a monopoly in this way. So I kind of still feel like it'll go through, right? But I don't know. There's some slight objections. But it's funny that Sony's out here talking to these people like as if they have a vote in the matter, right? But they already said like they have like requirements to allow or for them to be okay for this to go through, right? They said they don't want no extra content that is not available on PlayStation, no hardware enhancements better than PlayStation, and no Xbox Game Pass benefits, which I think is to mean like no day one or no like extra DLC stuff, which to me is kind of like that is the whole point. Like that is like the entire point of Microsoft spending like 60 billion or 68 billion, however much it was, or however much they're trying to spend.
A lot of money.
A lot of cash. Of course you want it on Game Pass. Of course you want these advantages. But I do like how PlayStation's kind of like, you know what? We'll be okay with it if this happens. But Dale, what do you think? Remember, Sony has no vote in this. They're just being wacky, right? They're over here sending Jim Ryan across the world to try to fucking show up to court and be like, I object.
It's just Jim Ryan. Jim Ryan's just doing it by himself. He's embarrassing himself as a CEO. That's
so
what do you
think here about like Sony's like this is what we want to see?
God.
As far as
I honestly think it's futile. I think it's like sure they'll listen to all the complaints and whatever because they have to because that's the law. But I think it's gonna go through. Like I'm 95% sure it's gonna go through. But it's just so weird, like the reaction from PlayStation camp about how they're handling this. Like Jim Ryan going out there and be like, no, please, you can't do it unless you do this. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? Are you putting money into this thing right now? Yeah. Like, what are you telling me?
Dude, he's battling. They're
battling,
and
which is the
and like,
is the weirdest way to do it. Like back in the day, if this was Ken Kutaragi, he'd be like, no, we're gonna build our own box. We're gonna build our own Call of Duty, and we're gonna show them like the long term was. You know.
Exactly.
But Jim Ryan is such a businessman, dude. Like it's so weird.
Dude.
That's the only way he knows to counter something like this.
He's like, I'm gonna go pound
to be
on some
fair,
tables.
Yeah, and to be fair, like none of his predecessors ever had to deal with something like this before, so I understand.
That's
true.
That's
true. He should take a page from them and say, like, you know what? We should make our own thing. We have a whole back library full of like these potentially huge franchises. As long as you massage them well enough and you take care and you listen to your fan base enough, they'll become big hits because it's just a PlayStation brand.
And that's actually kind of the counter, right? That Xbox said, and we'll combine it with this thing, Luis. So whatever you want to comment on, right? But it's kind of Xbox's response was like Sony. One of their quotes said that Sony would still have a quote significantly larger player base end quote even if all Call of Duty players switched. So their quote was, and this is from GamesIndustry.biz. They said, quote, while Sony may not welcome increased competition, it has the ability to adapt and compete. End quote. So. Luis, it kind of makes sense, right? Well, I mean, it's their counter, right? It's Microsoft's counter to the whole thing, right? But
I mean, that's showing that Microsoft is saying exactly what Deo is saying. They're like, well, they could just create a franchise that competes with Call of Duty. Like, there's no reason for them to rely on it so much, right?
They just bought Bungie, right? So
yeah, they got Bungie. That's what I was gonna say. So they should just work on making Destiny or whatever live service game that they make compete with Call of Duty. Like that should be the counterpoint, because they're just making themselves look like clowns right now. Like it's making me just for the sake of like, what the fuck are you guys doing? Buy an Xbox so that I could play Call of Duty on console, even though I'm gonna play it on PC. So
clowns. They're just a bunch of clowns is what they're doing. But yeah, I mean, that's a fair point. It's funny, right? They bought Bungie, right? And I think that deal went through already, right? Because they all have kind of a period of, looking at the financials, auditing, whatever you do, right? It's funny that Sony should be out here talking about, it's like, oh, okay, Destiny is exclusive to PlayStation or some other first-person shooter, right? Like, it's like, Bungie, you guys are responsible for saving us.
I mean, they have the plan of, what was it, a ridiculous number, like 12 live service games in the next 3 years or something, or like 5 years or something. So make one of them be that, you know?
Yeah, exactly. So they're being wacky. because it doesn't make sense. That, and I think that's why one of the things, that's probably why they don't say that, right? It's like, we're gonna make Destiny PlayStation exclusive. It's because there's money to be made, whether it's on Xbox or on PlayStation. Just like with Microsoft, they want Call of Duty on PlayStation, right? They're gonna keep selling it there, but they like the advantage of, we want you to buy into the subscription service. And it's on, and Call of Duty's on there, and Starfield's on there, and everything else you want is on there. Just get a Game Pass, right? So Dale, before we move on as far as that's concerned, that was a juicy one. But you know, anything else? Because I think we've talked about it for like weeks now. But anything else?
Oh
before
my
we move
God.
on to the next one.
Everyone's been talking about that thing for like weeks. Everyone became a financial analyst in the last like how many months since thing dropped. But yeah, I don't know. But the only comment I'd like to make is just like, it's so weird to see all these like Twitter console fanboys just fight and duke it out about like some corporation. Like it's so odd.
Or
to
that
me.
they're
I was just-
defending a corporation in the first place, right?
Exactly.
Like these
I'm
huge.
just like, wow,
Yeah.
you do this for like, you know, the Ford that you drive, or the Toyota that you drive, or the oil companies and all this other shit. It's so freaking weird. It's in the end of the day, if there's competition, you benefit from that as a consumer. So
I mean, there are some potential pros and cons, right? Because consolidation isn't necessarily a good thing, right? Because that's what's happening.
but
right?
they're not even like the biggest one like right now. If you look
Yeah.
at Tencent and you look at these other
True.
ones, they're so much bigger.
This is true, and those are a little nefarious, man. Because you know, like this whole like TikTok stuff. Don't tell me that's not spyware. You know, hey.
Oh,
that's
big time.
spyware.
Yeah, see,
You
that's
guys
another
are on
one.
TikTok, that is
Don't
straight
even
up
get me
spyware.
started on that thing, man.
so-
Oh man.
But there is still a consolidation happening, right? Sony buying Bungie, Microsoft buying Bethesda. They had just bought Bethesda in the last few years, and now Activision. So there's
That is a fair point.
know,
That is a fair
yeah.
point. I just think it depends on what corporations do and how they keep their autonomy for each one of the publisher, or the what do you call it, the other companies within their umbrella, how much freedom they give to them. I think Microsoft would rather be a little bit hands off, as what Phil Spector has been showing. I don't think he's really messed around with any formula. Like if anything, like you didn't see Minecraft really change too much.
Yeah.
Really. Right? It's still on all these other platforms, same thing, right?
Yeah.
Bethesda, maybe. That might be happening at Bethesda
It's
now.
gonna
Whereas,
look, Starfield. It's like exclusive. I don't know if they said it's
Exclusive.
multi-platform, but the single player campaign games, Game Pass. Like it's
Right.
exclusive to Game Pass.
Right.
But the
But-
multiplayer is everywhere. It just goes everywhere.
right, right. But if this was Sony, if this was PlayStation, you think they're not going to have their hands in every single one of their studios, like trying to control like what the content is, where it's going to be going, like all this type of thing? Maybe Bungie might be resistant, because Bungie has a streak of like rebelliousness inside of
They
them.
do, but they also got $3.6
Well, that's how they
billion in their
became a
pockets,
thing, no?
you know? Like, they
Exactly.
also- yeah.
But when they got bought, when they were they acquired for Activision for how long? I forgot how long that was. But like
well, they just had like a partnership for Destiny, right? For
That was a
years.
partnership.
It's
Okay,
kinda like
so-
a partnership with Activision,
right.
yeah.
So they like to have that kind of autonomy. But like, you know, other developers also like being under the PlayStation branding. Like, so it's very, I don't know, studio dependent on how that works out, you know?
Yeah.
So it could be considered negative if you're consolidating all these things,
Yeah.
but if
I think-
it could be positive if these studios like actually enjoy being part of this corporation
Yeah,
that
I
helps
think-
back them,
I think
like
it's
Double Fine. You know?
I think it's a matter of a lot of things are still cooking, man. A lot, like Starfield is still not
Yeah.
out, and there's still like all these things that are in the oven. Like we're still.
That's gonna be like
we haven't
summer
gotten the next
2023,
Doom.
dude, I swear to God.
Yeah, we haven't gotten the next Doom. We haven't gotten the next Starfield. We haven't gotten the next Elder Scrolls, the next Fallout. That's
Yeah.
when shit is gonna start lining up. It's like Microsoft's gonna be like, okay, here we go. Here we go. Let's get ready. Ramp up. Hold on to your buttocks. So next, speaking of Activision, of course, we've talked about the Overwatch 2 phone policy that is going to be implemented into Modern Warfare 2. But Activision has come out and actually said that it will only affect some PC players. And this is one of the quotes that I think it's on their website, but they said, "quote The SMS policy for Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone 2.0 on Battle.net is the same as the requirement for Call of Duty Warzone on PC, which was implemented in May 2020. A mobile phone number must be linked to your Steam account to play Modern Warfare 2 on that platform." So I'm guessing it's kind of specific to Steam, and I think it's a new wrinkle, right, to what we've been talking about. But I think it's a lot of it is because a lot of the cheating comes from PC players, right? I know it's possible on consoles as well, right? But I think it's
Very small
rampant.
percentage.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
rampant on PC, right? And the fact that you have crossplay, it starts messing with my KD ratio. It was already bad, but it starts messing with it. Luis, what do you think about this, man?
So the Steam part was something I was not aware of. I just thought it was the games themselves. And it confused me for a bit because they do have their own authenticator app, which I've used, when I'm on Battle.net trying to get on Call of Duty or Overwatch or something. But the thing that I guess people dislike is two things. One, no one wants to put their phone number down to play a game. And then two, it apparently doesn't work with prepaid phones at all. So there's some people that, just go to Walmart, grab a phone, and like that's their phone, and they just put minutes on it or
Yeah.
text or whatever on it. So it doesn't work with those at all. So it's like, okay, so if I have a prepaid phone, I can't play this game I just bought. Like there's no way for me to play it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it is a very weird situation, and I feel like they could have gone a different route with
Well,
that.
the
But
authenticator is a way to kind of, or you got? Do you feel that's
yeah.
enough or no? I mean,
I mean, I'm guessing there's some complications with the game itself when it's on Steam versus when you're launching it off of Battle.net. So I don't know if that's why they went the SMS route for that.
yeah.
But yeah, it's tough because it's like you're trying to defend your player base from hackers, but then you're also at the same time hurting them because people are you're adding this barrier for them to even play your game
To
at
even
all.
get into it in the first place.
Yeah.
Right? Dale, what do you think, man?
Yeah, like there should be some concern about the cheating thing, and that's why they do it. But yeah, you guys are right. Like there should be another solution to something like this other than having to put in your cell phone. I think was it last week that we talked about like Google Voice and everything like that, having
Yeah.
that fake. I don't think that works though. If it doesn't work on
Oh, that's
the
right. Yeah,
prepaid
you're talking
stuff,
about the VoIP or something like that. Or
yeah, the VoIP
the
stuff.
VoIP phone or whatever.
Yeah, if it doesn't work on the prepaid stuff, it most likely won't work on those either. But there's got to be a better solution to verify someone other than that. I don't like it, but I understand the reasoning why they have it.
And I mean,
Uh,
we'll find out, right? We'll find out if it's actually something that kind of works, right?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't even tried Overwatch yet, or Overwatch 2 yet. So
Yeah.
I'm just waiting for all the patches and everything to go through so then I can play it.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I'll see what happens when I get there. But if I'm annoyed, I'll let you know about it. I'll definitely let you
And
know.
yeah, and just to kind of quickly add on to this, of course, it's as far as it's kind of Call of Duty related, and it's just for me. Our favorite person, Jason Schreier, he did confirm that we're gonna be getting some premium campaign.
Boo this
DLC.
man.
We're gonna be getting some premium campaign DLC in,
Who?
in 2023 instead of a brand new Call of Duty.
That dead guy?
There was a Eurogamer post saying next year Activision Blizzard will be selling new stuff for Modern Warfare 2. He wrote in a tweet, they're referring to Jason Schreier, an expansion or something like that. Although Schreier admitted he wasn't sure exactly what it'll look like, he claimed it would have campaign stuff too. So to me, I'm down. I'll grab another expansion. I would buy a brand new game as I'm gonna buy. I think I'm gonna pre-order this thing pretty soon because I think the campaign is launching early, right? But for me, I'm kind of I'll take another DLC. That's what I care about, anyways, right? So I'll take a campaign DLC. But we were just talking about Overwatch 2. It did hit 25 million players in 10 days. Dale, you were talking about you haven't jumped on. Does this mean anything that it hit 25 million players? It is a free-to-play game too, right? So it's not like it.
Yeah, right, exactly. I was gonna say that the free-to-play model is definitely, a lower barrier to entry for a lot of gamers out there worldwide, and it helps. Like, it honestly helps get exposure for your game. It happened with Halo Infinite. Unfortunately, Halo Infinite doesn't have enough content to support any
How
a
dare you
long-term
blaspheme
player
my
base.
game of the year, sir? It was my number 2 game of the year.
I love that game, but like it needs help. It
You
needs
don't
some
sound
stuff.
like it. You don't sound like you
Um,
love it.
no, I'm being skeptical because
Yeah.
they have Forge coming out pretty soon. The winter update's coming in soon, so I'm hopeful for that. I got some hopium.
Yeah.
But for Overwatch 2, that is great news because I think within the first year, I think the numbers were half of that when it launched. So and
the
it got
original one.
with the original Overwatch 1 back in 2016, and it was a slow going. I didn't jump in until like year 2, and that's when things really got crazy, especially with the championship and the Overwatch League. I'm sorry, and yeah, like it's promising. A lot more player base into the community is great because then you have consistent matches all the time, and you're not gonna
Yeah.
have a hard time finding matches all the time. So
Oh, and
I think it's
and they were
positive.
quick to shut down Overwatch 1 too, right? They said, "Bloop, no, move
Yeah.
on." So I think that helps too, right? Like it's like
Yep.
you guys
Yeah.
hoping to lag on, like to stay on the old stuff. Nope, it's gone. Go to 2 already. So 25 million people. Here you go. Luis, what are your thoughts on this, man? You gonna jump in, or what you think about the 25 mil?
Yeah, eventually. I mean, I played Overwatch 1 hardcore for like, I don't know, like 3 years or something like that.
Yeah.
Like, just that was like the one game. I was basically like Walter or whoever the fuck, Adrian or
One
something.
of our
And
a
the
couple of
group,
our friends, right? Yeah, that they
yeah, that was like just only played Overwatch. Like, that was all I did. So, a lot of good memories with that game. A lot of bad ones too. A lot of bad ones there too. If we get a bad team, someone starts yelling at you because you're not healing them or something. But overall, yeah, it's something I'm excited about, especially if it's free. Also, not the first game to put heroes, champions, whatever you want to call them in this case, heroes, behind a paywall, which is interesting.
Okay.
With for a game like Overwatch though, because they released, I think they either have plans or have released 3 new heroes, but they're all in Overwatch 2, but they're all behind a paywall. You need to buy like the battle
Yeah,
pass
that's
or something.
weird, right? Because a lot of times you kind of want to just keep it a cosmetics and that kind of thing. But I think for them, it's like, dude,
It's both.
this is our investment here. This is our
Mhm.
like we're giving it to you for free. But you want to hear them?
Yeah. So yeah, they're not the first game to do that, but for whatever reason for me for Overwatch, just because it's for a game like that, it's so easy to be like unbalanced, and if you
True.
create a hero that can't be countered with a hero that's not required to be behind a paywall, then it
Oh.
could really get sort of wacky real quick. But they regularly rebalance the game and they update it, so I'm sure they'll keep an eye on that. But yeah,
That's
I'm excited for
yeah.
this, and I'll jump on
That's
it.
true. Like team composition is very important in that game,
Hmm.
and like if you upset something, like I haven't played it yet, but I heard that there's not a lot of tanks going on and not a lot of shields being
Mhm.
thrown up anymore, so it's a lot more
So
offensive.
the only thing the only way you sort of kind of make people happy and still make that because it's really wacky, dude, because you're messing with the gameplay at that point, right? The only way that would kind of make sense is that the base like characters, stock of characters, counter each other, right, in a balanced way, and these are just some extra characters that kind of do what the original stable does. But then it's like, well, do we have new characters besides aesthetics, right? Or it looks
No,
cool.
they'll just have to make it so
So
that the characters that are unlocked can counter characters that are behind a paywall. That's the only solution. But yeah, it could be what Deo's talking about. It could just be because of the larger player base. There's people that just actually don't know how to play the game yet, so they're not putting up a shield. They're only attacking. So I think that's something that will get fixed with time once people start getting placed in their ranks, and then over time, people will kind of start learning what their role actually is. If they pick Reinhardt, they shouldn't be up there sort of bashing everybody. They should kind of be defending the team a little
yeah.
bit. So
Okay,
yeah.
there you go. Well, I'm looking forward to your guys' impressions. Maybe I jump on. I don't know. Those team type games. It's like
Yeah,
my
it's
Deathloop.
wacky, dude.
It's like my Deathloop,
It's
but
fun, man.
multiplayer. You know, but maybe it's free to play, right? I can install it at the very least. The next thing we have on here is a little juicy stuff from Rocksteady. Well, at least specifically from a Rocksteady developer. They did confirm that Gotham Knights, which is coming out in a couple days, will be only running at 30 frames per second. And you know, people were complaining online, and Lee Devonald, who is a Rocksteady technical artist, who also shut down his Twitter, as Mr. Kamiya did earlier a couple days. But before he shut down his Twitter, he did respond to people, and he did say, quote, "I wish gamers understood what 60 FPS means in terms of all the things they lose to make the game run that fast, especially taking into account that we have a current gen console that's not much better than the last gen one." I feel like what's his name, who's the architect, Cerny? I feel like Cerny would probably beg to differ, right? That is like, it's not the same as a PS4. We just showed you what it did.
He'd have a
but-
PowerPoint ready and everything.
He had a
Yeah.
PowerPoint. Wasn't there like little particles that he was putting together like in real time or some shit? You know, whatever it was, Cerny probably begs to differ. But anyways, so the developer said that, and then of course there was a guy, Synth Potato, that said every time there's news about a game skimping out on basic features, you always get that one dev tweeting with hundreds of likes, but it's really hard to do. Your game costs $70, and all PS5, Xbox Series X games have 60 frames per second. Stop asking people to lower their already low standards for you. And of course, Devonald went in there and he responded, I don't know if you knew this, but $60 in 2000 is $93 now due to inflation. We're undercharging you for games and have been for 2 decades. Pay us what we're worth, and no wonder this man deleted his Twitter. All right, but I mean, it's interesting though. It is I've said it before on the podcast. I feel like we get a lot of value for $60-$70, and of course, but it is still a lot of money. It is still a lot of money to pay $60-$70. But I feel like gaming is kind of one of those things where it's like it's an expensive hobby, unfortunately, right? I'm glad that people eventually the prices tumble down enough, and there's like free to play models that kind of like anybody can play, right? I'm glad for that, but it's an expensive hobby, right? But I still feel like this developer's out of control with this. But Luis, maybe you can kind of help me out a little bit. What do you think, man? Is anyone in the right on this?
Both sides are in the wrong, I guess, to some extent, basically.
Yeah, I
but
like that.
it is like it's tough. I mean, he's right. It's tough to make games, dude. It's a miracle that any of them get out at all.
Yeah.
And to be fair, this thing is running at 30 with 4K resolution and HDR on as well. So it's like it's not like it's a terrible looking game, but there's people now, because of the sort of minimum requirements that customers expect now, they don't care about HDR, 4K, whatever. So I just want it to run on 60. Carlos, I know you're one of those people, right? Just like, I want it on 60. I'm gonna move faster.
Actually, not necessarily. So that's kind of one of the tricky things with this is games have been doing where they have an option, right? Because games have already done it on PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X, where like we have a beautiful looking thing, but it's gonna run 30. Right, or we have kind of an in between, or we have a performance that is like it's 60, but you're gonna be missing out, some of the HDR and all this other stuff.
Yeah. But I think I'm saying the same thing.
But what they're saying in this one is they don't have that option. It's just it's hitting.
Oh,
30.
I know.
But for me, what I was gonna say is that when I first played through a game, I wanted to look as pretty as possible. I don't care if it's running at 10 frames. When I'm chasing those trophies, though, that toggle gets switched to performance quick, right? But yeah, I digress a little bit, but please to continue.
Yeah, so that was kind of my point, is that people are arguing or sort of countering at the fact that they don't have that option in the game. They just never kind of thought about it. And it is something that it isn't as easy as just like what he's saying. You can't just lower the resolution of textures and hope that it runs. And it kind of happens depending on the level, what environment you're in, the amount of assets you have loaded into memory, that sort of thing. It's not just like a one size fits all. You kind of have to tweak it depending on what part of the game you're at. Yeah. So yeah, it's rough. But this guy coming out and then just like sort of completely deflecting the point and just like, well, games should be $93. It's like, wait, that's not even what we're talking about right now. I guess it's like, so he's either arguing one of two things: either that they gave them a game that is priced at $60, 30 frames per second, 4K HDR, that's what you get for 60, or you should pay us more. I guess I don't know what the sort of point there was.
There's a reason my man deleted his Twitter at some point, right? He's like, you know what, I don't even want to argue this, because you said both of them are sort of right. I think both of them are sort of right, but it is one of those. I can
only imagine, dude.
But it's but it is one of those things where I'm like, it's fair to like like you were mentioning, is like the expectations. Like, we have these games running at 60 now, or we have that option now. But I think this game has been kind of, and they did cancel the older generation.
That's what I was gonna say. So I wonder what it was running at. Yeah, imagine at PS4.
Oh, they were running fucking some Cyberpunk 2077 style shit on the old ones, man. So they canceled those, right? And now it's like they even pared it down. I don't know if they ever said it was gonna be 4-player. They did say, they came out and said there's gonna be a 4-player version, or like a mode that you can play with 4 players. But I remember, like, we talked about it on Wax. It's on Salient Points, where he's like, we are confirming this is only a 2-player online game, right? Or a co-op game. So I don't know, man. I'm excited to play this shit, though. It's gonna be some mixed kind of a mess, I feel. But it's coming out in a few days. Are you gonna try it out, Lise? What do you think?
Maybe. We'll see. I'll wait for Dalen's impressions and see what he says.
We might be co-oping, but he's like, I have a backlog or blah blah blah, and I'm like, all right, whatever.
Oh, man. I heard. I edited the podcast, Carlos. Okay, I heard.
Dale, are you picking this up, man, or do you have any interest in Gotham Knights?
I'm waiting. I'm waiting to see what's going on. It might be a nice surprise. It might pull a Guardians of the Galaxy where like everyone's all hating on it, and all of a sudden it's actually really great. I
Yeah.
mean, don't forget that this is Rocksteady, so
That's
Hmm.
true, man. I love me some Rocksteady. So, but yeah, it's rough because even some of the impressions that have come out from IGN and other, they're kind of like, they're kind of like, I don't
I
know.
mean,
So,
it's not
yeah,
their best foot forward. Like if
yeah.
you have like a superhero game like this, like a lot of like I don't even know a lot of the characters that are in the Gotham Knights series. I only know like Batgirl and like Batman. So it's
Oh,
our,
hey, don't tell that to Dalen. I think it's on wax. Maybe
I know,
episodes
I
and
know.
episodes ago where he was chastised like, it's the Red Hood, Carlos. It's not this guy. It's not that. I was like, I don't care, man.
See,
I just
I don't even want to
can
touch that right
can I
now.
play as
That's the
Batman or
thing.
not? Can I? What's
That's
going?
probably
Yeah.
why they came out weeks ago and were like, to be clear, Batman is not
There
in
is
this
no
game.
Batman. There
Exactly,
is no
exactly.
Batman. All right, well, we'll move on from that. But that's interesting. That's its own little thing that's brewing. It hasn't been out, so I'm sure we'll have plenty more to say on it next week when it's finally out, right? The next thing on here, we did mention it a little while ago, but Starfield is confirmed to have more than 250,000 lines of dialogue. Todd Howard, they did start Bethesda, or the guys that are working on Starfield. They started a new YouTube video series called Constellation Questions, which is, I think, Todd Howard is kind of upfront about it. And this is via Polygon. Howard was clear that this is still a video game about having fun, and so the team. Oh, that's referring to if it's hard sci-fi, right? He said it's not. It's still a game about having fun, and so the team did pull back on some of the potential frustrations that a more realistic sci-fi setting would bring. For example, the player could originally run out of fuel in space, leaving them floating. That has since been removed, and players' fuel and grav drive type instead limit how far players can go at once. Unrealistic, yes, but certainly less frustrating for fans. I think, to me, the big thing for this is just the fact that 250,000 lines of dialogue. I didn't put it on here, but from what I understand, like Fuse Roman or whatever that game is about dragons, and like, is it Elder Scrolls 6? The seventh time they saw it.
Fools Rodan.
Whatever. Whatever, right? That I downed a dragon and I'm done with this game. I hate high fantasy that much, right? But that had only 67,000 lines of dialogue, and this one to have 250,000. That just means I'm gonna be like, ooh, okay, I want this, I want that. I don't even let them finish their statement, man. I'm like, okay, I want this, I want that. So that's what that means. This is my style of RPG, right? These beautiful Western RPGs that kind of remind me. It's Fallout 3 and recently Outer Worlds. But Dale, what do you think, man? Whether it's the lines of dialogue, whether it's whatever you want to talk about.
That 250K line thing that gave me like a raging space boner because like I'm excited now. Like
Crazy.
I was like, dude, that's so many. Like, how many storylines would that be? How many variations of that storyline and choices do you get?
Mhm.
Like, what could you possibly do
I'm ready.
with all that situation already? Like, or like just the random dialogue you might run into. Like, if you're just like off to a planet or observing like space miners or something, they might have some crazy dialogue that
Yeah.
we never hear. Like
Yeah,
only that one time
and
because
all this dialogue for me to just be pissed off and just shoot the character after all and just pick off their whatever items they have on
and
their
take
body, on
dinner
their
rolls
person.
or whatever.
Yeah, they got dinner rolls and utensils. And like, why am I over encumbered? Oh, it's because I have 50
Yeah.
spoons in my pack. That's why.
That's right. Yeah, that's right.
I think I mentioned it on Wax too, but I when I played Fallout 3, I didn't know that. I didn't know over. It just said you are over encumbered.
Over encumbered?
Like, why? What is that? I think I even looked it up, dictionary.com. Like, over encumbered. What does that mean? And they don't
Yeah.
help. But eventually I learned that I was like, oh, it's because I have all these spoons in my pack and I gotta dump them all. Because when you go over to bodies, I don't know how you guys play. I don't know if you guys are very like, I want this, I want that. No, I
Oh, you
pick up
take the whole
everything.
Take all,
You
dude.
did the whole
Take
take all.
everything.
Yeah, take
Then
all.
I'll deal with
Yeah,
it
that's
later
me.
when I get over encumbered. Luis, what do you think, man? We're hyped about this, right? Even though it's been delayed, they had the perfect. What was it? 11/11/22. That, they had the perfect. date,
Yes, but keep in mind they did say that I forget what percentage of the game was, but they said it was procedurally generated. So I don't know if that'll get you hyped or unhyped for the amount of dialogue, Carlos. They
hate
did
you,
mention
man.
though
Don't
that
be
the
bringing
main
that
quest
shit up.
line,
Don't be bringing
the
that shit
main
up.
quest line itself has all been hand created. So
Okay.
don't get it twisted. But yeah, like
Woosah,
Dale's saying,
man,
there's
woosah.
who knows how many thousands, tens of thousands lines of dialogue that are just out there that a hand percentage of players will just never hear. That's kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah, it's I'm hyped, man. I'm just super hyped, but I do not appreciate you bringing up that procedurally. I'm pretty sure we talked about it on Wax, right? But it's I'm glad that they made that clarification. Anything that's like Critical Path or whatever, it's not that. It's not the mini fucking No Man's Sky. Sean Murray, we're still looking for you, man. We're still looking for you. But yeah. So I'm just upset now, man. I kind of want to shut down the podcast now that you brought this shit up. To be honest, but. Procedurally generation. Man, I hate you. Next thing on here, Meta Quest Pro is up for pre-order. It's going to be $1,500. I don't have too many details, at least, but what are we talking about here? Why is this thing $1,500? I guess if you can help us with this.
I mean, if anyone were sort of paying attention with what their projected business plan was, they would have expected something like this. But the internet's kind of freaking out at like, what the heck? Like, why is this so expensive? What's going on? I'm gonna boycott. It's like boycott it. It's like, well, yeah, don't buy it. It's not for you. You're not their target demographic. You're not the person they're trying to sell this to.
And
they're trying to sell this to.
From what I understand, it's like the Quest 2 specs or something, or like a basic Quest 2 specs or something?
It has the capability to be untethered as well, but the real meat and power of it comes from being connected to your computer, like the old, Rift or whatever.
So this is sort of the replacement to Rift, and they would rather most people buy the Quest. Is that kind of?
Yeah, I think Quest is where their real core target audience will be at right now. This is sort of they kind of mentioned they're going to test the waters with a more premium product that has all the bells and whistles connected to your computer. And I didn't expect them to make this possibly untethered like the Quest, but they did say that eventually their plan is to pack all of that technology into a form factor of a Quest that doesn't need to be connected to a computer. So they're just kind of trying to get this whole tech out there. Quest basically beefed up times 10.
Yeah.
Because the pass-through looks incredible. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but like you could set up virtual desktops and it's the image stabilization, the video quality is like perfect, crisp and clean.
$1,500 is well. I mean it's pricey, right? But if you have the cash and you're getting high tier levels of like the best VR you could do. Right? With this version.
So it's for those people. I personally will not be buying one just because I don't have that kind of money right now to spend $1,500 on a headset. But maybe in a few months' time, once I sign on the dotted line with Nvidia, then maybe we'll see.
Okay, you put it on Wax, so it's going well. It's going well. They're not watching it though, so maybe that's okay. Or maybe they do. Maybe they find like, do we really want this guy? Let me know if you need to delete that part.
You want this, man. You want in your company.
There you go.
Come on. Let's go.
Yeah, you just want this, man. He's been doing all right. Go back to the podcast. Don't worry about the stuff talking about procedurally generated, Just don't look at that. Next thing we have on here is also they made a lot of announcements, right? Meta did, as far as they're going to get Xbox Cloud Gaming. It's coming to the Meta Quest store, which is kind of a little wacky because to me it's kind of like Xbox Cloud Gaming could be on the TV. But they're like, here you go. Here's an app, and they made a big old announcement for it. But do you think that's a big deal, Dale, that they're kind of bringing Xbox Cloud Gaming into VR?
I think so. I think like as many platforms as Microsoft could get their Xbox branding on, it's a benefit to them. Not just because they might have a lot of big player base on that side, but they might at least get exposure or at least get someone interested in something like that. It's going to be really funny though, because I read from the statement that it's the way that it works in VR is that it's just going to be like a screen, and you sit in this virtual space and you're just watching the screen of playing all these games. Which
the PSVR already does, man. I know PSVR already does that, and even with like 3D movies, I never really tested it, but I know you could get a 3D Blu-ray and it'll be 3D if you're watching it through your VR, right? I think the funniest thing that like this reminded me of is when maybe a few years ago when we were really into Destiny. We're still kind of into Destiny, right? But it was me, Dalen, and my brother were into Destiny. They came over to my house one time. Dalen brought his TV, set up next to my TV, and we didn't have a third TV. So guess what was the third TV? The PlayStation VR. My man Brian, my brother Brian, was in that VR for like 4 hours at a time.
Oh my,
dude,
wow.
VR is great. I've kind of soured on it a little bit, but whatever. Besides the point, it's great for VR stuff or whatever. But if you're in that big old screen inside the little headset for 4 hours, Brian took it off and he was like, "Oh man, like I can't." And like, but we did beat that raid though. So PlayStation VR does this. I think maybe it's a little different, maybe whatever. But it's a big old screen in front of you, right? That you're looking at. So it's comfortable until it's not. Try doing a raid on Destiny with that.
I don't get how he did that with all the motion and everything in first person. That's crazy,
dude. It took like years from his life. It took years off of his life. I'm sure just being in VR for 4 hours.
Damn.
But. And I think he might have laid down or something, try to get comfortable with it, right? But you can't, man. It's too much. It's too much. The next thing on here before we move on from Meta is that Meta is kind of on an acquiring spree. They did acquire Camouflage, who did Iron Man VR, and Republic, who did kind of a crowdsource for that. Twisted Pixel, who did Splosion Man and Miss Splosion Man, and they've done other things, and also Armature Studios, who did the recent Resident Evil 4 VR and also Recore on Xbox. Meta is making some moves. They make some bad moves and good moves. I feel like this is what they need to do, right, to kind of get a good software library. Because to me, the strongest thing for PlayStation VR has been the library. Like, and it was, it pretty much, I think, still is true, except the fact that on PC you can play Half-Life Alyx, which is pretty great, but it's kind of standard fare, I feel. But I think this is one of the things that they need, right? Is just buy up all these cool companies that will make some cool games for VR. Luis, what do you think on this, man? That the fact that these guys are like, let's buy everything.
Yeah, I mean, they've been slowly kind of doing that here and there by acquiring a company here and there, but this is the biggest one I think I've seen where they just did a full sweep of like, we're getting all of the greatest hits that have come out within the recent times. And I don't know, I don't want to, toot my own horn or whatever, but I did say this 3 weeks ago. I did say they need to focus on let the people do the software. They went ahead of me a little bit on there and they just acquired the people that did the software for them. So, that's a smart move on them to just be like, well, we'll just keep making $1,500 headsets and raise the price of our other headset and just buy these people to make games for us.
And we'll buy everything.
Yeah.
What do you think, Dale? This is good, right? They're gonna start off good. I think they're gonna have people that are experienced.
Yeah, I think they'll have people that are experienced and those studios already, like, they have big ideas and they would like to have some funding and some capital put in that to make sure that their ideas come into fruition. If their games go to the pro version of the headset, that'd be great. I'd like to see more advancements in that area, to be honest. Mainly because I feel like VR is getting there, but it hasn't taken like that huge leap yet where it's like, I gotta have it. Like, everyone has to have it or experience it.
Yeah, and I think, and you do make a good point, because these studios I don't think are necessarily gonna get you there to the most extreme experience. These are good studios, but they're like good at like, we're making a nice little concept of VR, what VR should be. Like the Iron Man VR game, it wasn't too long of a game. It was kind of a short game, but it was a good like showcase title. And then Resident Evil 4 from VR, from what I understand, it was kind of incredible, right?
That was a really good one.
So maybe they do. Maybe they've just needed the funding, or maybe they are the correct studios to be like, hey, we're making nice little showcase titles, some for $20, $30.
If one of those studios hits upon whatever percentage of Half-Life Alyx is, then they're on the right track. I haven't played Half-Life Alyx, but from what you guys say, it's amazing. So if there's more of those out there and they have the potential to do that, then it's a big positive.
It's pretty good. I'm gonna put that. I don't know if amazing. It's pretty good, and I would think that they would try to get it on PSVR too, man. Just because I would assume that it's gonna have that much more power, right, to draw on, and it'll be good enough. I just think it was very standard fare. I think there's more games that really took advantage of the PSVR, whereas Half-Life was really more, and it's Half-Life, man, so it's great, right? But it's really more kind of like, you have the gun, you shoot around. Right, like, I don't know if it was necessary, like some, genre bending type of stuff, but it was good. It was quality, and it is it gives you taste of what the next Half-Life is too, even though it was kind of sold as a prequel, I believe, or it's kind of like a side story. But there are little bits of pieces of legit story, right? Of continuation.
If Valve just stopped making Steam Decks, if I had a choice between Steam Decks and a new Half-Life game, I'm going for a Half-Life game. I'll sell my Steam Deck tomorrow if they announce another one.
And they did.
I'm telling you.
I did have it on the rundown originally, but now I forgot the name. But they did trademark a new game, but it's kind of like, okay, we're never getting Half-Life. Now they're like thinking of this. I think it's Neon Prime or something like that they trademarked,
Yeah.
and now they're like,
Uh-huh.
we're never getting Half-Life. All right, so keep buying the Steam Decks. Keep buying they're full go on those things. We'll end it on this next thing. So as far as we understand, is Rockstar they announced that their next investor call is November 7th. And as far as we understand, well, this is kind of a theory from Legacy Killer HD on Twitter. He says we might get a trailer late October, early November, but they did have that leak, right, that we talked about a couple weeks ago. So, Luis, what do you think? Are we getting a little late October, early November trailer here?
I don't believe so.
No?
But you know, anything can happen. I don't know. I don't really see where like this information's kind of, you know, people connecting dots, and it's a stretch. I don't think it's gonna happen, but you know, I'll eat my words, and then I'll happily eat my words if this is the case.
Yeah,
though.
dude, everyone will, I think. Well, I think it's one of the. Well, I think it's tricky though, right? Because they did have the leaks, and they're kind of all right. Let's just kind of bring it in, and like, we'll wait, right? And I think it would have been different had like the stock like crashed, but I think it actually even went up a little bit based on like the leaks, right? So there's no real reason for them to juice like, you know, the stock or whatever before this investor call, right? So they're kind of like, it could go either way. But hey, like you're saying, I'd be happy to get a little trailer action right before the next thing. We're gonna move on to what you've been playing now. Luis, we'll go with you first, man. Luis, what you been up to over here, man?
I just worked my way through The Last of Us Part 1 and wrapped it up. I think I finished it last night or the night before, finally. I was kind of doing, you know, the whole trophy hunting, trying to get on one playthrough or whatever, but somewhere halfway through, I just said, I don't give a fuck anymore, dude. Like, it was taken away from, like, me experiencing the story again, you know? So I just kind of let that happen.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's good, man. It's a good game, and it's still good, and it looks better, and everything about it has been changed and improved. And I'm just kind of wondering like what it must be like for somebody out there to like play this game for the first time this way. Like that must be incredible, right? Not to take away from the devs that worked on the original one or anything, but this is to me like the definitive way to sort of experience The Last of Us Part 1.
You know, we do have someone, you know, if you my child, that's the first time this is the way she's been playing it. So I'm actually kind of in an in-between because I did GameFly because I'm like, it's kind of a cash grab, you know. I don't know if I want to buy it, right? I know we have a little history on Wax about that, at least. But to me, it's like, it's a lot. And I'm kind of, she has her own money now, so it's kind of like, do you want to go half on it? And she's like, how much is it? It's like 60 something, right? Because on GameFly, you get a little bit of a discount. GameFly, where's our sponsorship, man? First and foremost. But anyways, you get a little bit of a discount. And I was like, it's 60, we'll go half on it. And she's like, why are games so expensive? So it's one of those things that I'm in between, like, you know, I do want her to play it though, so I'm kind of like, I should just buy it. But maybe we can borrow it from Luis potentially, I guess, if you'll lend it out. But it's funny that this is the way she's experiencing it, and she's kind of, her little mind is kind of, you know, blown by it. But I think it might be a little harder than Uncharted, I feel, because she's kind of stuck. And I told her, all right,
it is,
you can bring down the difficulty, and there's also the assist. Like there's an assistive thing where it gives you click the R3 and it's like, go here, go there, move this box from here to there, which is how I played it. My run through to this game again, playing it again, Luis, was following a guide showing me where everything is. And yes, it does distract you from the story, but I still feel like I got the story, and it was real nice. And I was like, I really love this one. 2 is incredible, and I know we've had our discussions about it, but I feel like this one is so clean. The ending is just beautiful how it ends. It's really like, this is how it ends. I was like, damn, you just left me speechless on this. It's not big. It's not a big old speech. It's just a very clean ending, right?
Yeah.
But yeah. So is that all you've been playing, Lisa, this past week or so?
Aside from the huge, you know, Rocket League, all that. Yeah.
Yeah, we did play a little Rocket League the other day. That was interesting. A little late night Rocket League. If you ever care to join us, Deo. It's when did it start? When did this Rocket League?
Oh, we haven't had one of these in a while. This was the first because Carlos's early schedule, you know, early schedule time prohibits his late night game. Yeah. But I think we started around 10:30, something like that. Yeah, I think it was like 10:30.
Well, we only ended at about like 1 or so, 12:30. Deo, is a good time to end the session.
I'll be awake at that time. That's what Dalen was telling me. He's like,
you
if you're awake, just hit me up. I was like, yeah.
There you go, man. No, Dalen's up. Like, he's up, dude. He's up at the
Yeah.
So for me, I finished off Tales from the Borderlands. I basically solved that game tape. I thought it was pretty great. A lot of action. I really had a lot of chuckles in it. And I'm looking forward to the new one kind of coming out this way. In a couple days, man, we're getting Gotham Knights. We're getting Tales from the Borderlands, which I'm assuming is going to be like, it's still going to be the same like episodic type of release schedule. So it's kind of interesting that I'm going to rent the GameFly disc and maybe send it back and then get it in a few months again. So we'll see how that goes. But I definitely had fun with it. There was some good action and a lot of options involved in that. But I had kind of teased earlier, I did start playing Bayonetta. It's phrasing the game. There's a lot of interesting angles going on.
Phrasing the game.
There's a lot of phrasing situations.
Are you on Bayonetta 1 or 2? Because Bayonetta 2 is a little bit better.
I'm
yeah.
Playing
Okay.
Okay. I'm looking for. You know what? The one of the things that I quickly was like, because I've been thinking about this, right? And maybe I've mentioned it on Wax as well. But it's like, where's our Ninja Gaiden, man? This is kind of as close to a Ninja Gaiden. I feel it's a little wacky. It's like Team Ninja just has that like kind of perfection to it, and of course, it's kind of like a character over a still background a lot of times, right? That's kind of how it feels. But I think Bayonetta is a little wacky. You're clipping through everything all the time. Like, it's very, like, you know, as far as the graphics are concerned, but it plays smoothly. It's really nice. I do wish you could mess with some of the controls, because my fingers started hurting, man, after that R2, because the R2 is the dodge, man, and I can't change it. And the problem is you got the R2 for your index finger, right? And then you have a triangle and circle, which are kind of the primary buttons, right? Like, if you play God of War, it's kind of like the typical, you're going to use those a lot. Right, so I'm over here like at some point my fingers start hurting, so I'm trying to use my index fingers on top of the controller. And it's like, but I can't dodge, so I just gotta deal with the pain, man. I just gotta deal with the pain that my thumb is triangle, circle, and the dodge mechanics. But I'm liking it, man. And I think one of the big things that I really like about it, regular checkpoints. There's like it saves a lot. It saves all the time, because from what I remember, Ninja Gaiden would be like, nope, here's a 10-minute level. Run your ass from the beginning again because you just died, and deal with all these simple enemies. Because in Ninja Gaiden, any enemy can just murder you, man.
Anytime.
Like the first enemy can just murder you, right? So it's a little different in that sense. Bayonetta's a little more.
Are you getting the story at all? Because the story is kind of crazy.
It's super wacky. It's super wacky, and like I said, like some of the video angles is. But I like it. I don't know. I like it, but it's definitely. I think we were just talking about Bayonetta 3, where it's like, don't they have like a child-friendly mode or something like that? And it's like they need to go back and put a child-friendly mode for these, man. And I don't know how Bayonetta 2 was, but I like it, man, and I think I do like it, and it is kind of that taste of action adventure game where it's challenging. It's pretty like it will, like, I've had to repeat like some boss battles, and kind of what I do, my style of gaming, right, is like I die a few times, like, okay, I'm putting on a podcast or something while I just keep repeating this, and for whatever reason it kind of soothes me, right? Like I'm able to beat these bosses, right, where I don't have to feel like I'm rushing through it, kind of. But I think I'm maybe in the 4th or 5th chapter, and I think there's like 16 total or something like that. So I'm trying to get it done. Before Bayonetta 2, Bayonetta 3. You've played through 1 and 2, I'm assuming, right? You've kind of played through those.
Yeah. I forgot what happens in them because they're so, like you said, they're so wacky.
Yeah.
But I just remember that like 1 after playing 2, 1 feels a little harder and isn't as refined as the second game.
Interesting.
So
yeah, and I was just talking about how you're clipping through half the environments in 1, right?
The technical things are definitely there in 1.
But
so
it's still smooth though. It's still smooth gameplay. It reacts when you need it to, when you're dodging, right? It doesn't feel cheap. And it's kind of like Ninja Gaiden was the same way on Xbox, right? That it's not cheap. It's not like all of a sudden you didn't know. It's like somebody's there.
It's skill.
It's
your skill.
But what about you, Dale? You play anything this past week, man? Anything good?
Just 2 games, and I think I mentioned them before. Deathloop. I've been in the thick of it with Deathloop.
One of us.
Oh my god, it's amazing. Carlos, what is wrong with you? Oh my god, it's genius. It's absolutely genius.
I'm happy that you like things. I'm happy you guys.
I don't know so we were talking about the dialogue thing for Starfield, right? And then so I've been going back and forth on the island, and I went to this one place where it during the afternoon time, I believe, and I've been through there multiple times just to figure out this one puzzle for the area. and I was just going around, and then I didn't really, how do you say that, like interact with a lot of the enemies. At that time, I was like, I think I'm just gonna walk instead of like run and gun and try to get through it like this. And like while doing so, like I overheard so many stupid, interesting conversations from the from the
Mm-hmm.
enemies. Like they just have their own little world, dude. Like it's so crazy. One during the, I think it's Freestad Rock. It's snowing, and so like I just came across these two guys. They're just throwing snowballs at each other. Like it's totally frivolous to anything, and I'm not even
Wait,
around. I'm
yeah.
no not even remotely around them. I just have a sniper trained on them. I'm just watching them throw snowballs at each other and like having a good time. They're like boisterously laughing, like, "Oh, this is great! Like this is our job."
I think that was like my like I think I got to that too. That's early, right? Sort of early in the game that like they're throwing stuff back and
I
forth or
It
something.
depends. No,
Yeah,
because like you could happen it
you
happens
can get there.
specifically in the afternoon time.
Okay.
Uh, on that thing. So
I
you could probably come across it really early. Depends
I
on like
think I
if the
did, man,
timing is right.
and I think it was like you guys or you at least Dale, you were like, "Oh, this is awesome! Like, look at this nonsense." To me, I was like, "Man, fuck this game. I've seen enough. I've seen enough. I've
Crazy,
seen enough.
dude.
This is enough." But I think
You're crazy.
I think these type of games like they for whatever and it's that's the beauty of video games too, right? We all kind of it pulls us in certain
Yeah.
games pull us, right? Like Western RPG, I'm there all day every day, right?
Hmm.
But for whatever reason, these are the type of games that kind of reminds me of Hitman and Deus Ex. We talked about that last week as well, right? Where
See,
it's kind of
but the
like
thing is,
you're
like,
gonna
yeah,
experiment, you're gonna, and I'm like,
yeah,
I don't want to, and I don't want to show up at dinner time and then breakfast. But
which is
I'm
weird.
glad. But I'm glad. I'm happy you guys like
Thank
it.
you, thank
Yeah.
you. I'm surprised because like I don't like Hitman as much, like the type of Hitman gameplay. I know that a lot of people like it, but like something about this one just like it's like it's that murder mystery aspect that's like getting to me. Is like how am I gonna kill like three guys at the same time,
Yeah.
or like I'm constantly upgrading my weapon set and my my character
it
set too.
looks
Mm-hmm.
it
So it's
looks
just
great.
like
It plays well, right? It looks great.
yeah,
Plays great.
it's surprisingly
It's
hilarious at a lot
very
of times.
The
inviting.
dialogue's really good too.
Dialogue's really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, the music. Oh
Yeah.
man, I don't
Whereas
know.
Hitman is it's a little more rigid, right? I feel like
Yeah.
Deathloop kind of gives you a little bit more freedom in that sense, right? So, but it is kind of in that style of like. I want to experiment, and to me, maybe I just don't want to experiment, right? Maybe I just want to shoot some shit, right? Like,
What once you
but
like arm
yeah,
yourself with the stuff you're more comfortable, where like you're most comfortable with, like
yeah,
I kept upgrading a certain power with a certain weapon. Like I finally got like what is essentially the golden gun in
yeah,
the game. So it has a silencer and it's like pretty much it's not a one-shot kill, but if you get it in the head, it's pretty much donezo for the enemy type.
yeah.
But like once I'm going around with that thing, all I'm doing is just like silence, pop, instead of like sneaking around in the
See,
ducks
that
and
sounds
trying to hack
real. Yeah,
things.
that sounds real fascinating. Maybe
Yeah.
I don't know, man. Maybe I'll
And
give it a
and
shot. I don't know.
and
Maybe I'll go
they
back.
just came out with the golden update, so they have two different weapons that are really helpful actually. And I'm like I'm glad that I came across them when I did, because I was just like, okay, now that I'm done with like the sneaking around and trying to listen in and hacking everything, like I just want to run and gun and see like how far we could push this game. And
And
so
now,
those weapons give you the ability to do
are
it.
you doing Game Pass or you're on PlayStation or what do you
That's on Game Pass.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
I
that's
have it
kind
on
of
PlayStation 5, but I never
you've had
opened
it,
it.
right? But you're like, you know
Yeah,
what, Game Pass, it's enticing. It got me. It's got it's here. I'm just click.
yeah.
Well, look, that's been an episode of Salient Points. Unless you wanted to say something else real quick of any other games, Dale, or
Oh,
just kind
play
of
Forza
Deathloop.
Horizon 5. 10th anniversary came out. It's amazing, especially if you follow the entire franchise.
Yeah.
I've been trying to 100% that right now. That's the only thing I've been playing. But yeah,
Okay,
that's
nice,
it.
nice. Carlos Macias, I don't have a nickname because Dalen is not here. We'll see when he's special guest. Don't ask us. We don't know when he's jumping on. He's working. Leave the man alone. Carlos Macias, Dale Blas, thank you again, sir, sir, for joining us from in the Mid
Thanks.
Bay. Did you guys see the Yankees game is not on? I'm trying to watch this.
I was
game,
watching
but
the
it's-
Cube, man.
the Cube is on now. It's like
Cube.
a child doctor's on for some reason. I don't know who this man is or this child is. We also Luis Mendez on the Wheels of Steel. Luis, I heard enough about Deathloop, but yeah, if you want to, say something real quick to the people before we kind of get offline about, Deathloop or something.
Play the games you like.
I mean, but of course, right?
Solid
Like,
advice.
But of
Solid
course.
advice.
All right, latest. All right.
Lays peace.